You solved it in an afternoon. The problem everyone had been circling for weeks. The one that spawned 3 meetings and a task force. You saw the answer immediately. You wrote it up. You sent it through. You expected relief, maybe acknowledgement. What you got was silence. Your manager reads your email. No response. The next morning, he avoids your desk. When you pass him in the hall, he looks at his phone. Your colleagues stop inviting you to lunch. The group chat goes quiet when you message. You are not celebrated. You are quarantined. You tell yourself you are imagining it. You tell yourself competence speaks for itself. But the distance grows. The hostility is not loud, it is cold. It is the withdrawal of warmth. You did not realize you were receiving until it disappeared. Within a week, you understand what you have actually done. You have not helped. You have threatened. Why does this keep happening? Why does solving the problem make you the problem? You were faster. You were clearer. You made the complex simple. These are supposed to be virtues. These are the qualities every job description demands. And yet the room turns against you the moment you demonstrate them. Why does intelligence isolate you instead of elevating you? Why does competence feel like a liability? Because society does not reward excellence. It rewards predictability. The person who obeys without question is safe. They confirm the choices everyone else has already made. They validate the hierarchy. They prove that the manager is necessary. The meetings are justified. The slow grinding process is wisdom and not waste. The obedient person makes everyone comfortable because they make no one feel small. You make people feel small, not intentionally, not through cruelty. Through contrast, your competence is a mirror. It reflects how much time they wasted, how many meetings were theater, how unnecessary most of the structure actually is. You solved in hours what they could not solve in weeks. And that is not inspiration. That is accusation. Nietzsche saw this clearly. He understood that society does not want the exceptional. It wants the acceptable. It does not want those who rise. It wants those who fit. The herd does not celebrate the one who runs ahead. It isolates him. It punishes him. Not because he is wrong, because he reveals how slow everyone else is moving. This is not bitterness. This is pattern recognition. And once you see it everywhere. Let me show you how deep this goes. You walk into a room and solve a problem in 20 minutes that others have been circling for months. You expect gratitude. You expect recognition. You expect someone to say thank you. What you get instead is silence, then distance, then quiet hostility. And you wonder what you did wrong. You did nothing wrong. You did something far worse. You revealed that the problem was never actually difficult. You revealed that it could have been solved at any time. You revealed that the people who spent months on it were not struggling with complexity. They were avoiding simplicity. And no one forgives you for that. Here is what Nietzsche understood about this centuries ago. Competence is not neutral. It does not exist in a vacuum. Every display of capability is also a mirror. And most people do not like what they see when they look into it. When you solve something quickly, you are not just solving the problem. You are making a statement about everyone who did not. You are saying, without words, that their effort was wasted, that their struggle was unnecessary, that they could have done better but chose not to. And they hear that statement clearly, even if you never intended it. Even if you were just trying to help. This is cognitive dissonance at its most vicious. The mind cannot hold two contradictory beliefs at the same time without experiencing pain. So, when you demonstrate competence, you force a choice. Either they admit they were capable all along, and simply did not try hard enough, which is unbearable. Or they reject you. They reframe your competence as arrogance, as recklessness, as inexperience, as luck. Anything but what it actually is. Because accepting your competence means accepting their mediocrity. And that is a price most people will never pay. Think about the junior employee who automates a task. 3 senior managers have been doing this task manually for years. It takes them hours every week. It is tedious. It is repetitive. It is exactly the kind of problem automation was designed for. The junior employee writes a script. The task now takes 3 minutes. The employee presents it to the managers, expecting praise, expecting adoption, expecting efficiency to be celebrated the way it is in every corporate mission statement. Instead, the managers look at each other. They ask questions that sound like curiosity, but feel like cross-examination. They point out edge cases. They mention complications that might arise. They thank the employee politely and say they will consider it. 2 weeks later, the employee is reassigned to a different department. The task continues to be done manually. The script is never used. And no one explains why. You know why. The managers cannot adopt the solution without admitting they wasted years. Without admitting they never thought to try. Without standing in front of their own superiors and explaining why a junior employee solved in days what they tolerated for years. So they protect themselves the only way they can. They remove the person who made them look incompetent. They preserve the system that protects their position. And they tell themselves it was the right decision, that the employee was too eager, too disruptive, not a team player. This is not stupidity, this is survival. Hierarchies do not reward competence. They reward predictability. They reward compliance. They reward people who make others feel secure in their roles. Competence does the opposite. It destabilizes. It threatens. It forces questions that comfortable people do not want to answer. And so competence is quietly punished while obedience is loudly rewarded. Not because obedience is better, but because it is safer. For everyone except the competent. You are not imagining this. You are not paranoid. You are simply aware of a game most people play without admitting they are playing it. And once you see it everywhere. You walk into any institution and you will notice something immediately. The people who rise are not the ones who think. They are the ones who comply. The ones who nod. The ones who never ask why the system works the way it does, because asking that question is already a threat. Here is what Nietzsche understood about this centuries ago. He saw that society does not reward strength or intelligence or insight. It rewards something far more useful to those in power. It rewards the ability to endure meaningless repetition without complaint. The herd, he called it. Not an insult, a description. The herd survives by moving together, by never breaking formation, by punishing anyone who strays. Think about what conformity actually is. It is not just agreement. It is the replacement of your own judgment with the judgment of the group. You stop asking whether something makes sense. You start asking whether it is acceptable. You stop evaluating the idea. You start evaluating the risk of disagreeing. This is not weakness. This is survival. Because in most institutions, disagreement is not treated as contribution. It is treated as insubordination. Consider the teacher who sees the waste. She has been in the system long enough to recognize what everyone quietly knows but never says. Half the curriculum is filler. Busywork designed to occupy time, not to educate. She designs something better. A streamlined approach, fewer assignments, better outcomes. She brings it to the administration with data, with student feedback, with proof that it works. They reject it. Not because it fails, because it succeeds. Because if her method works, it raises a question no institution wants to answer. What were we doing before? If students can learn more with less, then what were all those hours for? What were all those meetings for? What are half these positions for? Her competence exposes the system's incompetence. And the system does not forgive that. The other teachers watch this happen. They see her proposal dismissed. They see her treated not as an innovator, but as a troublemaker. And they learn the lesson the institution is teaching. Do not solve problems. Ignore them. Do not improve the system. Preserve it. Do not think, obey. This is conformity in action. It is not about stupidity. It is about incentives. The teacher who keeps her head down, who follows the curriculum exactly as written, who never questions why things are done this way, she is safe. She will never be reprimanded for thinking too much. She will never be accused of making others look bad. She will never threaten the carefully constructed illusion that every rule, every policy, every tedious requirement exists for a reason. The institution does not want problem solvers. It wants problem ignorers. Because solving a problem means admitting there was a problem. And admitting there was a problem means someone will ask why it was not solved sooner. Who allowed it to continue? Who benefited from it continuing? You see this everywhere once you recognize the pattern. The employee who suggests a more efficient process and is told that is not how we do things here. The student who questions the relevance of an assignment and is marked down for attitude. The colleague who sees waste and is quietly isolated until he stops mentioning it. Obedience is structurally safer than intelligence because intelligence asks questions, and questions destabilize. They make people uncomfortable. They force justifications. They reveal that much of what we call necessary is simply habitual. That much of what we call important is simply entrenched. The majority understands this instinctively. They do not need it explained. They feel the danger of standing out. They know what happens to the person who speaks up. So they stay silent. They comply. They perform their roles. And they resent anyone who refuses to do the same. Because your refusal to pretend makes their pretending visible. You stop contributing in meetings. You stop offering solutions. You stop correcting the obvious errors everyone else seems comfortable ignoring. And you tell yourself it is strategic silence, but you know the truth. You have learned that competence is not rewarded here. It is resented. So you withdraw. You become smaller. You wait for the system to notice your value. But the system never does. Because the system was never designed to notice you. Here is what Nietzsche understood about this long before we had the language for it. The herd does not punish competence because it fails to recognize it. The herd punishes competence because it recognizes it perfectly. Your ability threatens the carefully maintained illusion that effort and obedience are the same thing as intelligence. Your presence makes their mediocrity visible, and they cannot forgive you for that. So they do what herds have always done. They isolate the outlier. They ignore your contributions until you stop making them. They reward the person who repeats your idea 3 weeks later in language that sounds less threatening, less sharp, less true. And you watch this happen. Again and again, until something inside you breaks. This is learned helplessness. Not the textbook definition, the lived version. You enter the system believing that competence will be recognized. That good work will speak for itself. That intelligence will eventually win. And the system teaches you otherwise. Slowly, methodically. Your ideas are dismissed in meetings. Your suggestions are ignored. Then 6 months later, someone less competent but more socially fluent repeats your exact proposal, and suddenly it is brilliant. Suddenly, it is exactly what the team needs, and everyone nods, everyone agrees. And you sit there knowing you said this half a year ago, knowing you said it better, knowing it does not matter. Because you are not being evaluated on the quality of your thinking. You are being evaluated on how little threat you pose to the people above you. So you learn. You stop offering ideas. You stop correcting mistakes. You stop expecting intelligence to matter. This is not weakness. This is adaptation. The system has taught you that visibility is dangerous, that competence is a liability, that the fastest way to survive is to become invisible. And you do. You shrink, you complain. You perform the appearance of effort while withholding the substance of your intelligence. And the system rewards you for this, not with promotion, not with recognition, but with the absence of punishment. And you tell yourself this is enough, but it is not enough, and you know it. So 6 months later, you quit. You leave. You walk away from the meetings and the managers and the carefully constructed illusions. And you start your own company, not because you are brave, not because you have some entrepreneurial vision, but because you finally understand that the system will never value what you offer. That competence is not a currency here. That the only way to use your intelligence is to build something outside the structure that suffocated it. This is the choice Nietzsche saw clearly. You can suppress your intelligence and blend in. You can learn to mimic the mediocrity around you. You can become fluent in the language of obedience and call it professionalism. Or you can accept exile. You can leave the herd. You can build power in the spaces the system does not control. And this is not a happy choice. This is not empowerment. This is recognition. The system will not change. The herd will not suddenly begin rewarding competence. So you stop waiting for the system to see you. You stop hoping the herd will wake up. And you ask yourself the question that should have been obvious from the beginning. If the system punishes the competent and rewards the obedient, why are you still trying to succeed within it? So here is what happens if you never accept this. You will spend the next decade softening your opinions in meetings. You will watch someone less capable than you get promoted because they nodded at the right moments and never made anyone feel threatened. You will bite your tongue when you see the obvious solution because you have learned, through 1,000 small punishments, that being right is not rewarded, it is resented. You will become fluent in a second language, the language of strategic stupidity. You will learn to phrase your insights as questions. You will couch your competence in false humility. You will watch mediocrity organize itself into a fortress, and you will be outside it, because you refused to pretend you did not see what you saw. And the worst part is not that they will reject you. The worst part is that you will begin to reject yourself. You will wonder if maybe you are the problem. Maybe you are too critical, too intense, too much. You will audition for acceptance by becoming less sharp, less certain, less alive. And you will get very good at it. So good that one day you will no longer remember what it felt like to think clearly without apologizing for it. That is the cost of expecting the world to reward you for being competent. Now here is the alternative. Stop playing their game. Stop waiting for the system to recognize your value. It will not. The system does not reward competence. It rewards compliance. It promotes those who follow the script, not those who see through it. This is not a flaw. It is a feature. Hierarchies are not designed to elevate the intelligent. They are designed to maintain themselves, and they maintain themselves by rewarding obedience and punishing disruption. You are a disruption. Your competence is a threat. Accept this, and you are free. Use your intelligence quietly. Build leverage in silence. Do not announce your insights to people who are not equipped to hear them. Do not try to convince the obedient that they are asleep. You cannot wake someone who is pretending to sleep. Instead, let them stay comfortable. Let them believe the game is fair. Let them think their promotions were earned. And while they are busy performing loyalty, you will be busy building optionality. You will be learning what they are not learning. You will be seeing what they refuse to see. You will be developing capabilities they do not even know exist. This is not bitterness. This is clarity. The majority will never understand this. They will keep believing that hard work is enough, that being good at your job is enough, that the system is fundamentally meritocratic and they just need to wait their turn. They will keep waiting. And while they wait, they will resent you. Not because you are wrong, but because you remind them of a possibility they are too afraid to accept. You remind them that they have a choice, and they hate you for it. But you are not like them. You have already sensed this. You have already felt the punishment for being competent. You have already noticed that the people who succeed are not the smartest. They are the most obedient. And you have already started to wonder if the game is worth playing. It is not. Not by their rules. So stop playing by their rules. Competence is not a social strategy. It is a personal one. You do not need their approval. You need your own freedom. And freedom begins the moment you stop expecting the blind to reward you for seeing.